Welcome to Sunday NFL Kickoff Show. The season has arrived, a full slate of NFL football. Happy Sunday to you all. Happy football to you all. Rolling with a Rob Bebenek right now. Rob, first Sunday of the year. How you feeling, my man?
Oh, Jimmy, it feels good to be back, buddy. It feels good to be back. It feels like it's been 20 years. This is the longest offseason ever. But we're back, and I am pumped to be here.
I'm so pumped to be here. We will be here every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, breaking down the entire card. We cashed easily with the Chiefs on Thursday night. That was beautifully done. I did give a little back with the Deshaun Watson prop. So for record-wise, 1-1. But cash-wise, we profited. Raymond Reichart in the house says, huge day today. We got Captain Marvel ready to go. Mr. Know-It-All. Mr. Know-It-All is Leo Leon's new moniker. Time to get busy. Jimmy Cece says, tough NFL card today. And he couldn't be more correct. And on these 1 o'clock games, I've only pulled the trigger on one spot. Wow. Is he nailing this? Jimmy Cece saying, tough NFL card today, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super anytime it's the first week of the year, it's going to be difficult because we don't know what we have with so many teams. There's teams like the Chiefs where, yeah, you know what you got. San Francisco, Baltimore, teams at the top, you know what you got. Teams at the very bottom, you know what you got. Just all those teams in the middle are really hard to make a play on right now.
They are. And we've got a great group of cappers here ready to put together their cards. And I'm very excited. Mr. Wisdom says, just an absolutely devastating day for me yesterday. Oh, man. I gave back a week's worth of glory yesterday and $900 to go with it. I got a little bit back on the horses. Not enough, but let's not go there. It was a spectacular week until yesterday, but now it's time for a spectacular Sunday. Let's forget about how awful yesterday was, at least for me and a couple of us. All right, let's get right to work, Bebsy. Let's get right to work. We're going to break down each and every one of these games. We're going to start with these 1 o'clock Eastern games. And I would like to start with the Seahawks Falcons.
How did I know you wanted to start with this one?
I
hate this
so
one.
Close to betting Seahawks -1. I also came close to betting the over. Sonny Griffin says, Atlanta's now favored. Shake my head. Gavin Henry in the joint. Great to see you, Gavin Henry, coming to us live from Jamaica. Jimmy Gomez, right away. Jimmy Gomez is on this Atlanta over 49. Let's see what kind of market movement we've had on this spot. Seattle, Atlanta. Seattle opened up as favorites. Now the Falcons are favorites and 1.5-point favorites. And I talked to you 30 minutes ago, and I was like, do I pull the trigger on the Seahawks? And you did not push me in that direction. And I want to know why. But first, let's talk a little bit about the situation here. Seahawks 11-5 in 2019. They add Jamal Adams. They add cornerback Quentin Dunbar. First-round pick Jordan Brooks joins this linebacking crew that we know so well, Wagner and KJ Wright. Their defensive line is questionable. And you brought that up, Bebsy. So why don't we start with Seattle's defense and tell me about your questioning this defensive line?
Well, first and foremost, you mentioned Jordan Brooks. Nobody saw that pick coming. Then again, nobody saw the Bobby Wagner pick coming at the time, and everyone trashed Seattle for that. So maybe they're right, but I don't see Brooks being an impact guy right away. But that defensive line lost their two most productive players last year. Jadeveon Clowney was their second most. Their most productive was Quentin Jefferson. Those guys are gone. They didn't replace them. That Seattle defense struggled a lot last year. I don't think replacing those guys with Jamal Adams is really the answer here. I see a defense that's going to struggle. This is not, the Legion of Boom days. They're going to put so much on Adams and Wagner to carry this year. And quite frankly, I think a lot of teams are just going to light them up on the ground, and they're going to be able to pick them apart when they get tired.
Well, is this offense that's added Gurley going to be able to pick them off on the ground? They ranked 30th last year with 85.1 yards per game. And Can Gurley stay healthy? Can Gurley make the difference on the ground?
I don't know if it's a question of Gurley staying healthy. I don't think he's healthy. I think that knee is just destroyed, and he's got to have they're saying they're going to give him 25 touches a game. That's a terrible idea. He's not going to last the season if they do that. The guy was incredible when he was at his peak and when he was healthy, but that knee is obviously not serving him well. So I don't think the ground attack is going to be a big thing for them. They've also lost Hooper, so I wonder if Hooper was a product of the system versus how good he actually is. I think it's probably a mix of both, but they're going to rely heavily on Ridley and Julio.
Ridley, Julio Jones. There's all this talk about Hayden Hurst. First-round pick, 25th overall of South Carolina by the Ravens, and they're making a big deal about him.
Yeah, I like Hurst. I liked him coming out in the draft. I thought he would be a bit more of effective, but he kind of got buried on that Ravens depth chart due to the emergence of Mark Andrews. But I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be as good or possibly even better than Hooper. So that could be an upgrade there. But again, until he proves it, I can't really bank on it.
Okay. So
I
say what, Bebsy?
No, just my apprehension with Seattle is games are won and lost in the trenches, and as phenomenal as Russell Wilson is, they still haven't put much of a line in front of him, and they don't have much of a defensive line, and that's where teams, win or lose football games. So, look, Seattle on the back of Russell Wilson is going to win games this year. I think they're a worse team than they were last year.
So Black Rogue says Falcons today. Birdie says Atlanta 4-0 against spread versus mentor Pete Carroll. The one at the end of last year was a gimme. Pete Carroll wasn't, I don't know. We saw what the score was at halftime, and Pete Carroll stopped trying because, he loves Dan Quinn. But Birdie says over is a solid look here. And that was my initial feeling. And I don't really trust. It's easy to say I don't trust the Falcons defense. We saw how bad they were last year. 28 sacks, second lowest in the league. They bring in Dante Fowler. McKinley's been a bust. They let go Desmond Trufant. Their cornerbacks are so young. And then we have this offense of the Seahawks. You just talked a little bit about Russell Wilson, but Lockett looked good last year, 1,057 yards. DK Metcalf was that big target that Russell Metcalf's always dreamt of. They signed Greg Olsen. I don't know how good he's going to be throughout the season. Chris Carson is ready to go. They pick up Carlos Hyde. I find this Falcons defense susceptible, and am I pushing it too hard? Or are they not as susceptible as I'm making them out to be?
No, you're right. You're right to have apprehensions about that defense, but I have apprehensions about Seattle's offense for the same reason I just mentioned. I just worry about their offensive line. Russell runs around so much. He just escapes and he makes things happen, and he's going to keep doing that, but I don't know for how long. I don't know if Olsen's going to be a major addition. I still think he's going to have Disley's going to be his guy there. Olsen will be a piece in that puzzle. I think you mentioned Tyler Lockett. That guy might be the most underrated receiver in the league. He's phenomenal. Doesn't get the credit he deserves. And Metcalf, I don't look, right now he still looks like a one-trick pony to me. He's a big, big boy, and he can run, but I'm still, man, that guy had such crazy injury problems in college. I wonder if the clock's ticking on his neck or his ankle or whatever. But, he's healthy week one. They got Josh Gordon in the mix. They do have good weapons. I think Carlos Hyde has never been given a fair shake anywhere he goes. So they got Carson and Hyde. They have weapons. It's just that O-line that's my biggest question mark about them.
Oh, so many great cappers joining us on this first Sunday of the NFL football season. So are you telling me that after we break down, if you had a free play to make on the total, you go under?
Look, it's mostly because I hate taking overs in week one because offenses are so sloppy, especially now they didn't have OTAs. They had a shortened training camp and no preseason. I just think a lot of offenses are going to be out of sync from the start, and overs right now scare me, even on some of the short point totals.
Okay, well, I'm going to take Seahawks -1 off of my possible additions. But I'm not going to take
I don't want to talk you out of it. This game is one in particular that I cannot make an honest judgment on. I don't know what to expect from either team. The Falcons more so. The Falcons are a huge question mark for me because you and I both thought last year that they would be a great football team, and they were garbage up until the end when they started putting it together. So I don't know. Are we going to see that team that was slow out of the gates last year, or are we going to see the team that started coming on at the end of the year?
Yeah, and everyone, all the cappers in the chat talking about the market move, a big market move. Razor locked in Atlanta +1. Seattle opened up at -1.5. And public is hammering Seattle, but line is dropping. Brady says no new coaching changes. There's continuity on both offenses. No play either way for me, as there's a way better spots out there. Over is the only play in this game. And Sportsman of the Year, listening in silence at their job. Respect. Respect. It's a big Sunday. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next spot that is near and dear to those of us north of the border. The Bills. Jets, Bills. Man. First question has to be asked before we break down who's in, who's out. Talk about Stephon Diggs. First question, Rob. Can Josh Allen lead this team to glory?
You got to define glory. I don't believe Josh Allen is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but nobody thought Trent Dilfer or Brad Johnson were Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. I do believe this Bills defense is maybe not as good as that Ravens defense and probably not quite as good as that Bucs defense, but they are very good, and I do think Josh Allen is better than both of those quarterbacks. So, yeah, in theory, they could win it all, but that's not where I would put my money. Now, in this game, I see an absolute shit stomping by the Bills. I still think at 6.5, this is probably a pretty safe play.
6.5, and that is across the board right now. 6.5.
Hey, people said I was nuts for the Chiefs at 10 points, and again, that was I just thought it was an easy play. And right now, I think the Bills are so disrespected. I don't know. They're getting zero love, and they were a very good football team last year that just got better in the offseason. They added Josh Norman. They added Stephon Diggs. Their younger core is only going to get better. You start looking at the names on that defense, and they're pretty stacked back there. And all Josh Allen has to do is not screw up. And he's got weapons. He's got guys who can play ball.
Josh Norman is on injured reserve. Tre'Davious White, though, expecting giant things out of Tre'Davious White. You have Stephon Diggs joining John Brown, Cole Beasley. This is an offense that scored 20 or fewer points 11 times last year. And Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, I think they're an extremely dynamic duo. Do you think Singletary and Moss put up nice numbers for this three?
I'm a big Singletary fan. I like this guy. I just love how aggressively that guy runs. I miss that they don't have Frank Gore anymore. Frank Gore's just, he's near and dear to my heart. Love that man. But I think this Bills team can move the ball. I think Josh Allen is a capable quarterback. His accuracy is a major problem. Maybe it improves with Diggs because there's a guy you can often just lob the ball up and he'll go get it. But all they have to do is shut down a very, very poorly coached Jets team and then put up a couple of scores. It's not going to take much for them to beat this spread.
So there's more cappers in the chat right now backing these Jets. Let's talk about the possible issues. Now, their O-line was terrible last year. They completely overhauled it. They have 5 new starting players. They bring in Frank Gore to at least force Le'Veon Bell to be accountable. Then this wide receiver core without Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder, Brashad Perriman, and Denzel Mims. Do you think this wide receiving core is a weak group?
Well, I mean, you just said the names out loud. So yeah, it's a pretty weak group. Who knows what Denzel Mims is going to be like? I think he has a shot at being good. And I like Sam Darnold. I don't think it's his fault. I think their problems begin and end with Adam Gase. Why does that guy have a job? That guy is such a bad coach. He's been terrible pretty much everywhere he's gone. I can't figure that out. The man should have been fired. He's a nutcase, and he's a terrible coach. And again, like you mentioned, the complete overhaul of the offensive line, it might be better in the long run. But week one, it's going to be hard for that team to come together. You know, they're lucky they have Frank Gore because he might keep Sam Darnold upright a little bit more than Le'Veon. Does Le'Veon Bell block, or is he too cool for that? I don't know. I hate Adam Gase. He's such a shitty coach, and therefore I can't put anything behind the Jets.
This total is now down to 39 at some books. Do you agree with this very low total, and do you have a feel for this? Are you thinking of making a move on the total?
If I had to make a move again, I as low as it is, I'd still take the under, just because I don't believe Darnold's going to be able to move the ball against this Bills defense. And I don't see them breaking 10, and therefore I don't see the Bills putting up 30. That's my justification for why I would still take the under in this game. You know, I see like a 17-3 type game coming in here. It's not going to be a good week for the Jets. I'm sorry, Jets fans. I know a lot of you guys are hammering the Jets right now. Man, it's Adam Gase. It's a big Adam Gase thing for me, and a lot of new moving parts on a team with a shortened offseason. That's going to be hard. And on the other side, I love McDermott. I think he's a fantastic coach. And I think the Bills take a step forward this year, even though nobody is liking the Bills right now.
68 Fahrenheit. I have the wind increasing throughout the afternoon. It's 15 miles per hour right now. By 2 p.m. Eastern, it gets to 20. But by 2 p.m. Eastern, it stops raining. Wow. Al Mack says, I'm on Bills. There's Jive Man joining us. Noli knows his last two matchups, 13-6 and 17-16. Wow. Al Mack, first half under 14.5 all day. Eli Bulldog says Bulls can't score enough to cover 7. All right. So are you staying off Jets Bills, or are you pulling the trigger on the Bills here?
I would pull the trigger on the Bills here. No, see, Al Mack is on the Bills. I just think the Bills aren't going to need that many points to cover this spread. I can't see the Jets putting up. I don't know if the Jets are going to get into the end zone today. You know, of course, that's a crazy thing to say because it's football. There's touchdowns happen, but I just don't see the Jets being able to move the ball against this defense. Bills don't have to do a lot to get that spread.
We are going to be tracking. As you guys know, I track all of my bets across the board for good and bad. It was great all week until yesterday. And we are going to be tracking Bebsy's action all year long. Official picks made on this show. We will odds and line shop for him on the odds.com odds page. And the best line I can give you on Bills minus 6.5 is at Bet America minus 6.5 at minus 109. Is that what you want to get you on the board here?
Sorry, what was that? What was that, Jamie?
Minus 6.5 at minus 109. Your first official play? Yeah,
man. I'm locking that in. I just see this as an easy play. I really do. I think I just think this Bills team is getting so disrespected by the rest of the league, by everyone out there. They're better than people think. I think that division is theirs for the taking this year, and that has nothing to do with Tom Brady's departure.
Supreme 13 says, Jimmy, what about the Raiders minus 3? I want to talk Raiders badly. But we're going to go through the 1 o'clock games and then move to the 405, 420s, 820s, and roll like that. But I'm very excited about Panthers, Raiders. Next up, Bears, Lions. We had Lodels Loshak on the show yesterday who wanted to go against the market move and take the over in this game. Opened at 44.5, went down as low as 42. It's actually still at 42 at a couple books. There's Juan Ruiz ready to get to work. Beach Boss got the Bills -6. And Dennis Garcia says Jets +850 is beyond silly to win the division. Viper MB gets us rolling by saying he's on the Bears total wins under 8. When Lodos was talking about this over, I thought it was a sneaky look. The more I studied it, the less I wanted to pull the trigger, and I have not pulled the trigger. Let's talk about reasons why. First off, Trubisky won the job. The Bears offense was ranked 29th in the league last year. Nick Foles is waiting in the wings if Trubisky, looks terrible once again. Bears got nothing from their running game last year. Montgomery, Cohen, Nall. Will they get anything this year? They signed outside linebacker Robert Quinn. Khalil Mack, just 8.5 sacks last year, a down year for him. Maybe Quinn, who had 11.5 sacks last year in Dallas, can take some attention. Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith, Danny Trevathan, Kyle Fuller, Eddie Jackson. We know how good this defense is. We know.
Yeah, I mean, this is still a phenomenal defense for the Bears, which is why I lean towards the under in general. Phenomenal defense by the Bears and terrible offense, mainly because of Trubisky. I don't get the play of bringing in Foles and not starting him. If anything, it just puts more pressure on Trubisky that he wasn't handling well in the first place. So either start Foles and let Trubisky, groom a bit under him, or don't bring in Foles. So a bad decision there. I think that's just the Bears not willing to admit they made a mistake in that draft. So that's why I would still lean towards the under in this one. Look, that Bears defense is great. And Quinn, like you said, will take some pressure off Mack. Roquan Smith is a stud. He's only going to get better each year. So I really like this Bears defense, and I really hate their offense, mainly because of Trubisky.
I can't believe he won the starting job. We have word that Quinn won't be in the lineup, Robert Quinn. Joe Free says, I believe Evans is out. I've heard that Evans is in, just not going to play every snap. Quinn injury. Okay, let's see if we get an update here. Doubtful. So Quinn, doubtful. And the Bears are keeping him out. So he's past doubtful. Quinn will not be in the lineup. Okay, let's talk about this Detroit offense. Stafford missed 8 games to close out the year. They lost all of those 8 games. Golladay hurt, but Amendola, Hawkinson, Marvin Jones Jr. ready to go. They bring in a new defensive coordinator. This defense 31st in the league last year. They bring in Adrian Peterson to this backfield right now that already has Kerryon Johnson and Ty Johnson, and DeAndre Swift, I guess, is hurt right now. What do you think about this Lions squad? I know last year was just awful with the injury to Stafford, but do you expect more from them this year? Or do you expect more from them today?
I don't know what to expect from, not having Golladay. I'm just reading here that Swift is out too. Those are important pieces to an offense that never really seems to put it together, even with Stafford in. Marvin Jones is one of the most frustrating players. I can't figure out if he's good or not. Some weeks he's just insane, and some weeks he's just invisible. So I just don't trust them. I love Stafford. I feel like his entire career is being wasted in Detroit. But I like Hawkinson. I do. He was kind of a disappointment in his rookie year for what, the hype around him coming in. I don't think it's going to be like that for his whole career. I think he takes a huge step forward this year and kind of becomes Stafford's safety blanket. But on the defensive side of the ball, Okuda's going to help them out a lot. I think that guy's Patrick Peterson 2.0. He's an absolute stud. But, they bring in Patricia, who's a defensive-minded guy, and their defense is 31st last year. So this is a defensive-minded team with a terrible defense. It's why I just can't love Detroit. I want to. They're like that lost puppy that just can't find its way home, and I want to root for Detroit. I just can't. I can't get into them even playing against biscuits.
We have word from Sean Dozier that Swift is playing.
He is playing.
Going to be in the lineup. I was not under that assumption, but that's what We're hearing Desar says Stafford took some early hits early in his career, then started throwing off back foot, hanging wide receivers up to dry. And Matt Gandy joining us on our Periscope says worried about Stafford's body movement and mobility after coming back from a broken back.
Well, sure. I mean, that's a great point. We don't know what any quarterback's going to look like after an injury. We don't know what Cam's going to look like, even though everyone's saying he looks phenomenal. But the first time Cam came back from his surgeries, he looked terrible. So who knows? I mean, a broken back isn't exactly an easy thing to return from. So are we going to see the same Stafford? Is he going to have the same zip on the ball? It's why I'm kind of leaning away from this game, period, because I don't know what to expect. But I think injury or not, I kind of feel that way about the Detroit Lions. You don't know what you're going to get from them.
Market move, though, 1 point in the Lions' direction. Still just 2.5-point favorites. Are you making a move in Bears-Lions?
I'm staying away from this game. Again, it's just too many question marks for me, not really understanding what I'm going to see here.
All righty. We've got some looks on the under from our guy Swervin, and we have heard from Pistol Pete Loshak that he's on the over 42.5. Lamont Williams coming with his max bet on the Bucks plus the points. Can't wait to get to that game. Brady says Bears win total is higher than the Lions and their dogs. Trubisky starting is why, and he owns the Lions. Take the gift. Bears against the spread and money line sprinkle. Wow. Jerry DeVito in the house. Wow. Birdie bullish on the Chicago Bears. Wow. Exciting. Okay. Let's move on to Packers, Vikings. Very exciting spot here in mini. Let's see what we are dealing with. Packers, Minnesota, from a market perspective. Vikings open up at 3.5. There's 2 and 2.5s. The first 1.5 has popped on the board here. Vikings defense took a clear step backwards last year, completely overhauled. They now have 6 cornerbacks on the roster, 23 years or younger. We know Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris are going to give them a very strong safety tandem, and maybe that will allow them to have such young cornerbacks. Daniel Hunter on the IR, they do get, and that's going to hurt their pass rush, obviously.
That's a crushing blow for them to lose Daniel Hunter. I mean, he's such – even he's still considered a superstar, and he's underrated at that. That's a crushing blow. They still don't have an answer at corner to the best of my knowledge. Really, they're strong at linebacker, and they're not as strong up front anymore. So that defense that took a step back last year, I think takes another step back this year. With Hunter out, I mean, you know, that's like taking Aaron Donald off the Rams D-line. They're immediately not a threat once he's gone. So that's a crushing blow to them. I think that's why that line is moving down a bit. I don't know. That's going to hurt the Vikings so much.
Vikings draft Justin Jefferson from LSU in the first round. They have Thielen headlining this wide receiver group that we know has lost Stephon Diggs. Packers haven't lost a season opener since 2014. Vikings have won 4 straight season openers. Rodgers 6-6 in his career at Minnesota. 26 TDs, 4,002 yards, just 4 interceptions. But the Packers refuse to bring in top-level wide receiving talent to help Rodgers out. He's about to turn 37 years old. This Vikings offensive line is susceptible. The Packers can get after him. We know they're using this hybrid defense, and it's strong. Kevin King, 5 picks last year. Za'Darius Smith and Preston Smith combined for 25.5 sacks last year. Al Max says the Vikings are trash. Luffy D Monkey, I'm not planning any teasers. I don't play teasers generally, although I certainly see spots where I understand why cappers are using them. Jet Flying 99.9 is saying Packers, Black Rogue, Packers best bet. Everybody here liking the Packers. Bebsy, what do you think about this spot? Packers, Vikings, is there a move to make?
I'm with these guys on if I'm going to make a play, it's probably going to be towards the Packers. I just have a lot more trust in them. Again, like the Vikings lost Stefanski and they lost Stephon Diggs. Those are 2 big pieces. You lose your offensive coordinator. You lose your I guess 1B receiver if you consider Thielen 1A. There's going to be a bit of struggle with that, I believe. And I don't love the Vikings, and I don't love the Packers as a whole going forward, because they were maybe the worst 13-3 football team ever last year. They did not deserve to be in the position they were in. They won a lot of close games against bad teams. I don't think the Packers team, I just don't know what to expect from this Vikings team that's, lost some pretty key pieces from last year. But if I am making a play, which I probably won't on this, I would go with the Packers here. It's a field goal. It's 2.5 points is a field goal that is very makeable. Aaron Rodgers, I don't care if he's 37. That guy could still whip the ball like it's nothing. Yeah, they didn't address the receiver position like everyone on earth thought they would. And who knows, maybe the Jordan Love pick is them trying to add a wrinkle, much the way the Saints used Taysom Hill. I don't know what to expect with that pick, but I think Jones, Adams, and Rodgers can put up points for them today.
A lot of the cappers in the chat right now talking about a sneaky under in this spot. This total opened up at 47. Not that sneaky anymore. It's down to 44.5. Do you agree with this market move towards the under?
Yeah, I mean, again, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but I love hitting the unders week one, and I would have been on this for sure had it not moved at all. But I still think the play is, as you put it, a sneaky under.
Packers, Vikings under spot, but I would not tell anybody to take that after a 2.5 point move. Almac is on the first half under. Nilo going in a different direction on a team total over for the Packers. Any official picks here in Packers, Vikings, Bebsy?
Again, I'm staying away from this one. I don't like to make a ton of tight calls in week one. I like to see what I've got first from some of these teams. And the Vikings and the Packers are two teams that are big question marks for me. The Packers a little bit less so. I think they'll be a very good team, just not they're not going to hit the record they had last year. And man, that Vikings team is missing some serious pieces. Griffin gone, Danielle Hunter on IR, Diggs gone, offensive coordinator gone. We'll see, but I'm holding off on this one.
All right. I have not moved on this game either. Let's move on to Dolphins Patriots. This is going to be a lot of fun. The Patriots with Newton. Let's see what we're dealing with from a market perspective right now. Miami, New England. New England opening up as 6.5 point favorites. There's sevens. There's a 7.5 on the board now. This total went from 43.5 down to 41.5. That's a big favorite for a total that's just at 41.5. New England's won its season opener in all but 2 of the last 16 seasons, but obviously I was with a different quarterback at the helm. We could see Cam Newton making moves. Pats lost Jamie Collins. They lost Danny Shelton to the Lions. I mean, Stephon Gilmore, very, very, very strong defensive player of the year. And then Miami lost its first 7 games of the year. Bebsy, we thought they could go 0-16, and they turned it around under Flores in a huge, huge way. They bring in Chan Gailey, which will be interesting to see how he handles Tua and Fitzy. We know it's Fitzpatrick to start. Devontae Parker is their star receiver, and then you have Gesicki and Preston Williams, the tight end. Gesicki expecting to get a ton of play here. And then the big issue last year was their running game. Fitzpatrick led the team in rushing with 243 yards. No player got over 250, which is crazy. They signed Jordan Howard. They trade for Matt Breida. And they have 3 key pieces of their roster from this Dolphins squad. And Ted Karras, their center, Landon Roberts, their linebacker, and Kyle Van Noy. Big, big game. Huge favorite for a low total. Dolphins, Patriots. Bebsy, take it away.
Well, to be honest with you, I like the Patriots winning this, but I like the Dolphins covering this because, quite frankly, the Dolphins always play the Patriots tight. Doesn't matter who's there. They just always seem to be in that game. And like you said, last year, I really thought the Dolphins would go 0-16. I thought that was just a given. They had lost everyone right before the season started. They were so bad to start the season, but man, Flores turned that team into a competitive, respectable team by the end of the year, and I believe he continues to do that. The Patriots, okay, obviously the big talk is Brady. I don't think losing Brady at this stage in his career, changes the Patriots that much. What does change the Patriots is no Jamie Collins, no Shelton, no Hightower. He opted out for COVID. Patrick Chung opted out because of COVID. This is a team that's been pretty picked over. But how many times have we seen the Patriots roll out a completely new team and be just as good? I mean, it's Bill Belichick. It's hard to bet against. I think they win, but it's such, like you said, it's such a big point total, especially playing Miami. And this is an inspired football team. I don't know what to expect from Jordan Howard and Matt Breida in Miami. Look, I loved Matt Breida last year, but only because he was playing in Kyle Shanahan's system. He's not a guy who can bust through tackles. He's a guy who can just light you up with speed. So I don't know how effective he's going to be in Miami. The big guy there for me, no pun intended, is Gesicki. I think that guy's poised for a breakout year. He's just a big, athletic freak for his size. So I like him being the guy going forward. I think Fitzy's going to be Fitzpatrick. He's either going to throw for 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, or he's going to throw for 163 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks. But they're going to play him tight. So I don't like this. I don't like this spread at all, and I would go Miami to cover.
Interesting. Malcolm Johnson says that Fitzy's out for sure because of his mom passing. That was 2 weeks ago, Malcolm. So.
Yeah, I read that Fitzpatrick was the starter, unless that's changed today.
Malcolm is sure that Fitzpatrick's not in the lineup, and I am sure that Fitzpatrick will be under center. So we'll see who wins out here, Malcolm, because you watching his interviews, everybody reached out to him. He's a very popular guy in the NFL, and he was very close to his mom, and that's always very tough. And he'll be under center today because he knows that Tua is sitting there staring at him. Wow. So a lot of guys, Al Mack here, bullish on the spiteful hoodie, says he wants to go out and make a point. There's a few different cappers in here saying that he wants to go out and make a point. This to me is just too big of a spread.
Yeah, it's just too big of a spread. Like I said, I think New England wins, and I think New England is still going to be a very good football team and probably a playoff team, because I'm not betting against Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick could just take a bunch of CFLers, roll them out there, and get them to do something that makes them win the game. I can't bet against Bill, but I'm not going to take this spread. And also, look, it's been all lovey-dovey and all great things about Cam Newton in camp, but he hasn't played a snap yet for New England. He looked terrible the last time he was on the field. Cam has looked bad since they lost the Super Bowl to Denver. I want him to win. I want him to look great. I want him to show the world that Tom Brady is not the reason New England won all those Super Bowls. But I got to see him play first. I got to see how Cam's actually going to do. The love fest will end quickly if Cam has a terrible debut.
Hey, Illy also on Miami +7. Bebsy, can you touch on what Matt Gandy's asking about on our Periscope? How does Fitz not light the secondary up with all of these opt-outs? Can you touch on the opt-outs and how it will affect them?
Well, here's the thing. It's what I just said about Bill Belichick. He can roll out whoever. How many times have we seen the Patriots roll out with a squad where you're like, who the fuck are these guys? And then they're phenomenal. Again, they still have Gilmore. The McCourties are still playing. Am I right? They didn't opt out. Like, this is still a decent football team. And again, Bill's probably found some guy you never heard of that's going to be a stud this year. And, Fitzpatrick could put up some points against them, but who's he going to light him up with? Like, Parker's good, but he's not he's not going to light up the Patriots. Nobody's going to light them up. Bill Belichick, the more time he has to plan for a game, the more I worry about the other team. So as much as it could happen, and yeah, those opt-outs are going to hurt. And, again, Hightower and Patrick Chung are just two solid veteran leaders for that team. So having them not play is, I think, way more crippling than Brady leaving town. So you could be right. Fitzy could put up some points against them, but I mean, Stephon Gilmore is still Stephon Gilmore. He corner in the league, no question. So they're not going that way. So we'll see. I can't buy into a light up per se.
Well, after all of this, Damon Santori joining us. With all of this, I think that 7 is too many, and we have an hour and 19 minutes, or really an hour and 24 minutes till kickoff. If this goes to 7.5, I don't know how I don't pull the trigger on the Dolphins. And I still like the Dolphins +7 here. Okay. And just a quick touch on this total that's being bet down to 41.5. 2-point move from the opening line. Do you agree with this under? Would you make a move on the total?
I mean, it's such a low under that I kind of want to stay away from it. I do see this as a very low-scoring game, but at the same time, this under is really low. It kept creeping down. I'm not touching it.
All right, staying off that. So far, we have one official pick from Bebsy, and that is the 6.5 on the Bills. Bills -6.5. Okay, let's keep going. Ari Miller looking at a prop. Bears versus Lions first drive result punt. -130. That's an interesting look, Ari, and makes sense, but those props are juiced. Nasty Nate says Pats win by 17, and Dennis Garcia said 2016 final, plenty of room. Dennis Garcia looking at the under here. All right, let's move on to the Eagles at the Washington Football Club. So when it was announced, when the injury spots were announced, and we were told that there would be no starting running back for these Eagles, what we saw in that Sanders due to hamstring injury, what we saw was this market go down to 5 and then quickly move to 6.5. And now we have most books back at 6. I wish I had got in at 5. I don't think 6 is that much of a difference. And I'm thinking of pulling the trigger on the Eagles and wanted to talk it out. Helgard Werner, though, on Washington +7. Let's break this down. Obviously, the Eagles need Wentz to stay healthy. They have a healthy Deshaun Jackson to start the year. They have Alshon Jeffrey out with a foot injury, so they have Greg Ward, Arcega Whiteside, and Jalen Reagor. Jeffrey's going to be out for a few weeks. They have that Ertz-Goddard 1-2 punch at tight end that is so difficult to defend. Their secondary is new. If Darius Slay in there, new nickel corner in Roby Coleman. Their Rodney McLeod as the only returning starter in the same spot. And then from the Redskins, it's Haskins. Is Haskins going to be more comfortable under the guidance of Ron Rivera? This team finished dead last in passing offense, 175.8 yards per game. Peterson gone, Geis gone. Antonio Gibson is their lead back in the running game. Logan Thomas, Jeremy Sprinkle, at tight end without Vernon Davis and no Jordan Reed. So many question marks with the Redskins, less so with the Eagles. Jimmy Gomez says Eagles cover today. A. Hilly says, I love Washington today. Both sides here. Scott Croniker says underskins Eagles defensive lines dominate. Mark Barros on Eagles -7 easy. Supreme 13 Philly or pass. Bebsy, take it away. Eagles, Washington.
Yeah, a lot of uncertainty with both these teams, with injuries, with question marks. Who's going to play? Who's going to improve? Who's not? It's a game, I feel like I'm staying away from a ton of these, but I don't like this one either. I think offensively, the Washington football team, look, Peterson's gone, so they obviously had some faith in Gibson, but I don't know how much of a running game they have. I think a lot of it comes down to whether or not Haskins took this job seriously in the offseason. He clearly wasn't ready to play last year. He clearly didn't care enough about the playbook. There was a lot of rumors saying he wouldn't study. He didn't try. He was trying to run on his athleticism, which, can work at Ohio State when you're surrounded by studs in a stud football program and you can just be better than the other kids you're playing against. But that doesn't fly in the NFL. Scary Terry is a heck of a receiver, and I think he'll continue to be good, but I don't know about the rest of that team. On offense. On defense, I think the Redskins could, or the Washington football team, that's going to take a while to get used to. But I think they have an underrated defense. If Reuben Foster's healthy and plays anything like he did at Bama, that guy flashed a little bit in San Francisco, and then he got arrested 17 times, and then he got hurt. But he's back. On the defensive line, they are loaded up, though. They added Chase Young, who I think is just a shoo-in for Defensive Rookie of the Year. That guy's an absolute freak. But they still have Kerrigan. They still have John Allen. That's a nasty defensive front, and they could put it together on defense and cause problems for teams there. I just don't think they move the ball well on offense. Now, on the flip side of the ball, Philadelphia, again, Wentz, healthy, phenomenal, hurt. Often it's hard to bet on him. He is playing today. He was questionable, and then he was upgraded to probable, I think, last I checked. But Sanders, not having him in is going to hurt a lot. They lost the best guard in football to IR. That's going to hurt them a lot. And I think last, you might want to check on this, but last I saw, Rager was out this week, or is he just questionable? Because I think –
oh, keep going.
Well, I just think he's going to be a big wrinkle in this offense, and without him and Sanders, they're hurting. But they still have Ertz. They got a healthy Deshaun Jackson. It's such a question mark game for me because, again, it's week one. I don't know what we're going to see from either of these teams. I can tell you that I believe Washington is going to be a very talented defense this year. Rager is playing. So, yeah, I think it's going to be strength versus strength, offense, defense here. And my guess would be under. But how do you bet on the Washington football team? They're called the Washington football team.
The ownership has just made a mockery of crucial decisions.
Dan Snyder needs to sell and never show his face again. I'm so sick of that idiot. That guy was the butt of everyone's jokes 20 years ago, and he's still just ruining a once great franchise. I can't put anything into Washington ever. So again, I'm staying away from this team. There's too many injuries and question marks on both sides of the ball. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, I after the breakdown, I've become lukewarm on making moves here.
I just think Miles Sanders is so important to that offense, especially with Wentz potentially playing not at 100%.
A question from our chat from Kevin Garrett says, who is Whale Capper on today? Whale Capper, whom hopefully will be joining us at some different points in the season here, is got the smallest card that I've seen him have, and many of the sharpest NFL cappers are really taking it light here. He's on the Browns, but he got him at 8.5. He's on the over in Carolina, Vegas. He's on the Packers money line. He's on the Bengals under 44.5, and he's on the Rams money line. So he's got the two money line dogs in the Rams and Packers. That's our Whale Capper, great friend of low baggers everywhere. Okay, so that's made me lukewarm on the Eagles, and to take a favorite at this size, you need to have a lot of confidence, and I think that'll take me off the Eagles.
Yeah, Jimmy, I would stay off it personally. I don't like the play with just so much uncertainty in this whole season, and this game is one big one that I don't have a clue what's going to happen here. Maybe Haskins really got into the books this offseason, and he's, maybe feels pressure from old one-legged Alex Smith, and he really cared, and he's going to be a dynamo this year like he was at Ohio State. But I'm certainly not betting on that, not until I see it.
All right. TB says Haskins trash and Slay going to man up McLaren. And so no move on Eagles Washington, but we'll leave a question mark beside the Eagles. Okay, let's move on to Raiders Panthers. I've been excited to talk about this game. So we've seen a big move towards Vegas. 2-point move, but crucial numbers. You could have had Vegas at -1. Now they're sitting at -3. Again, these are Bet365 opening lines, so they come out a little later. Coy Moore says, not a believer in Carr. Let's talk about the Panthers first. New head coach, 2 new offensive coordinators, and a new quarterback. And then no preseason games.
Yeah, no preseason games, new coaching staff, new system, new quarterback. Greg Olson's gone. They still have weapons. Like, you look at this team, and I like Teddy Bridgewater. He's had injury concerns. He's had an unfortunate career to this point, but I like him. I think he's a good quarterback. And Christian McCaffrey, he's as good as they come at running back. I wonder about a new team like this many new parts in week 1. And I also look, that defense still have a lot of talent. They still have K1 Short. Brian Burns was great in his rookie season. I expect big things from Derek Brown out of Auburn. But Luke Kuechly's gone. That guy is the nucleus of that defense. That's the captain, the leader. That is going to hurt so much. They have a questionable secondary. Kuechly's gone. I just can't be high on the Panthers with all this new activity. Who knows what kind of a coach Matt Rule is going to be at the professional level. I think the Panthers are going to have a long, hard season ahead of them. And I'm betting against them pretty heavy until they show me that they can really roll.
Their offense, though, is so dangerous. With McCaffrey, Moore, Samuel, they bring in Robbie Anderson. It's their defense that's the issue. They allowed 5.2 yards per carry last season, 32 touchdowns on the ground. They spent all 7 draft picks on defensive players to shore that up. They're going to get Quan Short back from a shoulder injury. He'll be up there with Derek Brown, first-round draft pick Derek Brown, which has to help. IND-JAX says Carolina lucky to win 5 games.
Yeah, I'm kind of that mindset too. And it's, like you just mentioned, all those players, they're all on the defensive line. They're all in the front. They don't have anybody beyond that defensive line that scares me. I think their starting middle linebacker is going to be Tahir Whitehead. I don't care that guy's on the field. I don't. He's just a plug-in and play guy. And offensively, yeah, Robbie Anderson, he's going to be able to stretch the field. Moore is a very, very talented receiver, very underrated too, because he just kind of broke out last year. And Samuel's a good number 3. And obviously Christian McCaffrey's an absolute stud, but that offensive line has got holes. They added Okung, but at the expense of losing their best offensive lineman in that trade. So I just don't trust the new system, new offense, despite the fact that they have all these weapons. I got to see healthy Teddy Bridgewater. He hasn't started in ages. So too many question marks for the Panthers for me.
Well, let's talk about Vegas a little more. So Carr coming off career highs in completion rate, yards per attempt, and passer rating. But the Raiders have struggled putting points on the board so often and averaged less than 20 points a game. That's only 3 teams in the NFL average less than 20. Bills, Dolphins, and Raiders. Tyrell Williams out for the season. So you have Brian Edwards, the third rounder, and Henry Ruggs, a first rounder, as their starting wide receivers. What do you expect out of Edwards and Ruggs?
Well, I think their offense will run through, first and foremost, Josh Jacobs, but then Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are the guys that I think get the most touches. For me, I like the Vegas Raiders this year. I think this is going to be a very good football team. I don't think they're going to be a great football team, but I think they're going to be competing for a wild card this year. Who knows about Ruggs? Ruggs was an absolute stud at Bama, but again, a lot of times receivers take time to adjust. Everything I'm hearing about Edwards is that he's great. I'm getting chirped because Teddy played last season. Yeah, he played last season. I'm talking about being the guy. It's been ages. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Yeah, so I think Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, they're going to be the guys. I think Hunter Renfrow, like you look at, I've seen that guy's body when he's practicing. He does not look like an NFL player, but man, Gruden likes him. I like him. I think him and Waller are going to be receivers there. I think Jacobs is going to be beast.
Let's talk about their defense. They were 31st in the league, 28.7 points allowed per game. Last in yards per play allowed at 6.21. So they bring in Malik Collins. They have Damon Arnett stepping in as a starter. Jonathan Abram back at strong safety. He had the season-ending injury right at the beginning of the year last year. And at linebacker, Corey Littleton and Nick Kwakowski. Do you expect big improvement here?
Yeah, I think for starters, Corey Littleton is a criminally underrated linebacker. If you look at Rams games from the last couple of years, he gets overshadowed because Ramsey and Donald is on that team. But you watch that game, and he's always showing up. He's always there making plays. He's a very good sideline-to-sideline middle linebacker. That's a massive, massive improvement from, I think they had Whitehead and, they had Vontaze Burfict for a couple of minutes last year until he decided to try and kill a guy and then laugh about it. But, I think this defense is going to be good. Cleveland Farrell was, I'm not going to say he was a bust last year. He didn't play up to his draft position. But then they got Max Crosby, who was an absolute stud in year one. So I think those two guys, I do think Farrell will step up and play better. I like Crosby. I like this secondary. Like, they got LaMarcus Joyner and what's their other safety? He was a rookie last year and he played well. They got good safety tandem. They added Arnett in the draft. I think Vegas is going to be a decent football team this year. I don't think the Panthers are going to be, and I'm looking at action on the Raiders this weekend.
-3. You want to make that an official pick?
I'm still making that an official pick. Easier to get in at 1, but -3 I think is still good. I think the Vegas Raiders are going to play some good football this year.
The best line is at BetMGM and Fox Bet. Oh, excuse me. Bet America. Bet America and FanDuel. Wow. Bet America, FanDuel, and Resorts are giving you +100. -3 at +100 for Vegas. And that is the second official pick for Bebenek on the show, -3 +100. There's Dog Barnhouse joining us. Sage Lawrence. No, we haven't talked about Buccaneers. We're almost done the 1 o'clock games. Then we're going to move into the 4 o'clock games. We have 2 more 1 o'clock games on the docket. We're going to start with Colts Jaguars. And let's see what we are dealing with in Colts Jaguars. Indy Jacksonville. Indy opening up to 7-point favorites. 7.5 or 8. There is 1 7. Just take that back. There's a couple 7s still on the board, but mostly 7.5s. Let's talk. And let's see what the total is here. Excuse me. The total opened up at 46, and there's a 45.5 on the board, but mostly 45s. Okay. Colts Jaguars. Frank Reich done a hell of a job leading this Colts squad, but now we have Rivers making his Colts debut, and I know a lot of people heavy against this spot with Rivers. Our Connor Mack Picks, who joins my show every Friday, is made his play today article piece on the Jaguars plus the points. Indy 1-9 their past 10 openers. They've lost 6 straight openers. Oh, excuse me. 6 straight overall, 7 on the road. So they trade for DeForest Buckner, who you know very, very well, Bebsy. They signed quarterback Xavier Rhodes, and this defense fell apart at the end of the season last year. So let's go to the Jags. They draft Chenault. They sign Tyler Eifert to give Minshew some extra help. They bring in Schobert. They bring in Schobert out of Cleveland, which is going to help a ton at the middle linebacker spot. They have Leonard Fournette. They bring in Yannick Ngakoue. Ronnie Harrison and Ngakoue, are gone. Sorry, don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Ronnie Harrison and Ngakoue are gone, and Leonard Fournette is gone because he's over in Tampa. Sorry. James Robinson comes in, and Kayvon Chason comes in. Josh Jones expecting a bigger role. What is your expectation here, Colts Jaguars?
My biggest question mark is Phillip Rivers. I don't know how much of an upgrade he's going to be. He started out his whole career, he's thrown weird, but now he throws weird and soft. He underthrew so many guys last year, so I don't know if Rivers is going to be a huge lift for them. Is he going to be that much better than Brissett? I don't know. That's my biggest question mark. I do like Taylor running behind that line. I think that guy runs like a truck, and I think they've got a great offensive line there. As long as Rivers doesn't make mistakes, i.e. throw the ball directly at Jacksonville's defense, then they're going to win, and they're going to win big. But Rivers is the huge question mark for me. Now, on the other side of that ball, doesn't Jacksonville feel a lot like Miami last year? They were bad. They lost a ton of guys, and then right before the season, they lost a bunch more guys. I feel really bad for Josh Allen. He had a great rookie season, but he doesn't have the help he did last year now that Ngakoue's gone. Last year they jettisoned Ramsey. They lost Bouye. There's just nobody left from this team that almost beat the Pats in the AFC Championship a couple of years ago. So this is just a bad football team on paper right now. And having said that, I got to bring up Gardner Minshew and the fact that this team has nothing to lose. I think most people have them picking Trevor Lawrence next year. So we might see some Minshew magic. We might see this guy just play balls out. He's got to be playing loose because, that guy seems like he cares so much and doesn't care at the same time. He's a fun player to watch, and maybe he stands on his head. Maybe he does something incredible today. My biggest question mark, without a doubt, is Phillip Rivers. What's left in that arm that was, quite frankly, shit last year and the year before? Now he's on a better offense than he had with the Chargers slightly. So I don't know. I do think DeForest Buckner is a massive lift to that defense, and they're going to be very, very good on D, and they're going to have a great running game. But the Colts question mark for me is Rivers.
He is a big question mark. A big question mark. Birdie saying, I've been saying Brissett was good last year. Vinatieri missed 3 game-winning field goals. They're 10-6 if he hits those. If they're 10-6, is Rivers even the quarterback? That's Birdie's question.
Yeah, well, that's good. I don't think Rivers is that big of an upgrade over Brissett at this stage in their career. Yeah, Rivers in his prime was a very, very, very talented quarterback. But right now, I'm not sure he is. I don't think he has much left in that arm. And, we'll see. We'll see. I hope he was lifting weights and doing the Tom Brady health treatment shit or whatever in the offseason, and he's good to go. But that's their biggest question mark right now.
He's got 9 kids.
He's got like 17 kids.
He's not in the gym, man.
Yeah, he's got no time for anything but hang. And I think I saw an interview with him in the offseason. He's just at home hanging out with his kids. So there's my big question mark for the Colts. run Swift hard behind that line. And I think they're going to have a lot of unders this year, that team.
This total is at 45 or 45.5, mainly 45 on the total.
I'm not going to make a move, but if I was, it would be the under on this for the reasons I just said. I don't trust Rivers. I'd like to see what we're going to get from him, but I don't see either team putting up a ton of points today.
All righty. And you got Moss says Colts O-line eats. TB, like in the Minshew, over 244.5 yards. And the reasoning is sound. If the Colts are as strong as some expect them to be, that Jacksonville will be trailing. Minshew mania unfolds in the second half. And Helgard Werner letting us know it's raining there and says the under for the total sounds good with the weather forecast. Okay, let's go. And the Czar is backing up what Brady was saying, that they have O-line issues today. And the Czar is saying that it is two Colts O-linemen dealing with injuries, but looks like they're both a go. Okay, let's move on here. And the final game of the 1 o'clock slate, and this was a double up for me. Browns-Ravens. I know the Browns play the Ravens tough, but will they in Baltimore on the first game of the year, when every year we cash on Harbaugh week 1 because he's got everything set. He's such a strong coach. He's so profitable early in the season. So we all remember what the Titans did to the Ravens. We all remember. So beyond this Ravens team that was looking so good, let's just talk about week 1. And week 1, the whole coaching staff returns. Browns, we'll get into Browns' ludicrous coaching situation in a second, but the whole coaching staff returns. Almost every offensive starter comes back. Yanda, the only starter not back from last year. I mean, this team can run the ball down your throat. And if you go over to this coaching staff, they have Kevin Stefanski making his debut. That's 4 coaches Baker Mayfield has had 4 head coaches. He was drafted in 2018, 4 head coaches. Last year, the Browns couldn't stop the run. They were 30th in yards allowed per game, and they're going up against the best rushing attack in the NFL in week 1. And as the other games were, I was having so much difficulty with, I was like, you know what? Just double up here. And that's what I decided to do. I got Ravens 4.5 and 7.5, both at minus 105. And it's still 7.5 at minus 105 in my book, but there are books with 7, and I could have paid for 7 at minus 125, but I decided not to pay 20 cents for that half point, and I'm fine with not paying 20 cents for that half point. This total was opened at 48.5, and there's a 47, there's a 48, there's a bunch of 47.5s. Take it away, Bebsy, Browns, Ravens.
I mean, you said a lot of what I was going to say there with regards to what these two teams' offseason look like. I mean, aside from the Earl Thomas fiasco that happened, the Ravens had an incredible offseason. You know, they were such a good football team last year. They add Calais Campbell. They stole Patrick Queen in the draft. And they also, on offense, added J.K. Dobbins, who, you know, I thought at Ohio State was arguably the best running back in college last year. You know, there's so many good running backs last year, but he's going to complement Ingram so well in an already extremely potent offense. Yeah, Yanda's going to hurt, but apparently Hollywood Brown has put on 20 pounds of muscle this offseason. That was my biggest question mark about him coming out, was just his size. He was so little, but that 20 pounds of muscle is going to help. I think this Ravens offense is going to be nasty. I think their defense is going to be even better regardless of the Earl Thomas. John Harbaugh's not going to let a guy go that he needs. He absolutely needs. There's definitely a contingency plan in place. He was comfortable to make that move. The Ravens are going to be nasty, nasty football team again this year. And then, you know, you said it about the Browns. It's a new coaching system, new coaching staff, the system. And I was telling you about this before the show. I think we talked about it last week, actually, was, you know, they were choosing between Stefanski and Robert Saleh of the San Francisco 49ers. They played head-to-head Robert Saleh's defense owned Stefanski's offense, and then they hired Stefanski. Like, whether I think that's the right move or not, that's such a Browns thing to do. You hired the loser to come and coach your team. And frankly, the Browns are the Browns until they're not the Browns. Okay. Like, this team every year, like, they might be good, and then they're terrible. I can't believe in Mayfield until he stops doing press conferences looking like a sucky baby. Nobody's going to follow that guy until he looks like a leader. You can't come out and pout after games. You lose the respect of your fan base. You lose the respect of your teammates. Look, the Browns got better in a lot of spots. They got 2 new tackles here, one in the draft, the other in free agency. They should be better there. Chubb is one of the best running backs in football. They are core. They have the pieces in place. I just need to see it come together before I care about the Browns at all.
Yeah. Well, I think it was well put. Well put. I doubled up here. Are you making a move on Browns-Ravens?
I was, last week I was on the Ravens hard in this, and now I'm a little bit leery of it just because when you go in and you break down all the talent that the Browns have and the fact that they should have a much improved offensive line and Mayfield won't be running for his life as much, I'm a little bit worried about such a big spread. So, and it's week 1, so I like to slow play at the start, but I was close to putting it on the Ravens, and if you put a gun to my head, that would be my play.
Wow, there is sharp money coming in on the Browns. Ravens are now -7 at -115.
The Browns have a lot of talent, and Conklin and Jedrick Wells are really going to help that offensive line, which should help Mayfield. But I got to see it before I believe in the Browns.
Yeah.
You look at them on paper, and that's a talented football team, but until they put it all together.
So the Ravens are now at 7. Does that interest you?
I'm still staying off this. Just again, it's a week 1 question for me. I really want to see. I really want to see what the Browns are under Stefanski. There's a lot of egos and hotheads in that locker room. You're coming in as a new coach, and you got attitude problems all over the board. You got Myles Garrett, who, one of the most talented players in the league, tried to smash in a guy's head with his helmet last year. You got all kinds of stuff swirling around Odell Beckham, and now there's some sort of poop fetish thing going around with him. I don't know how much truth there is to that. Mayfield's obviously a sucky baby, up and down character. There's a lot of question marks that I have. Kareem Hunt kicks women in the face. Like, there's problems in this organization, and a lot of these players are just, quite frankly, shitheads.
Yeah. He kicks women in the face, and he runs very fast.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good football player, but he kicks women in the face, man. You can't.
No,
you can't like that guy.
You can't. But Nick Chubb is going to be getting the ball most of the time. Would you agree?
Chubb's an absolute beast, and there's a very good chance he leads the league in rushing this year, because I think if they're smart, they ignore the cries from Landry and Odell, and they play a run-first football game. But we'll see. We'll see what Stefanski has in store for this football team. I made fun of the way they chose him. I do think he was the right pick over Robert Saleh. I just thought it was funny that they played head-to-head and Saleh killed him. But we'll see. We'll see what Stefanski does with this very talented team.
All right. Yeah, Shane, I feel you the spread the love, but I'll look more into that. Yeah, Intex says public's all over the high-flying Ravens. However, despite 2/3 of bets back in Baltimore, we've seen the Ravens fall from 8.5 to 7.5, and now 7. We'll have to see. But if this is how often have we seen the sharps on the Browns? Sharps on the Browns. We've seen it for 2 years straight, and they've lost a ton of cash on the Browns. So this is not a new thing here. All right, those are your 1 o'clock games right there. At this point, Bebsy, you pulled the trigger on 2 spots: the Bills -6.5 and Vegas Raiders at -3. Is there anything else that you want to add?
1 o'clock games, not so much. I got a couple in the later games, but 1 o'clock games, there's still so many question marks in this already very weird season, and it hasn't really started.
Okay, well, I'm going to take off the over in Seahawks Falcons. Short shot, Timmy says, do you guys play alternate spreads? Yeah. Alternate spreads are great. Do them all the time. Because you got to find the plus lines. Week 1 is a little questionable. But short shot, Timmy, that's a great move to make, and we already talked about Whale Capper and his success, and he does it all the time. Now he does it very slightly, always to the plus. He never buys points. It's always when he's always selling points, never buying points. So I think it's a very, very smart move, sharp move, and there's no sport better. NBA is really good with it in too, but and then NFL. Okay, so I took off Seattle Seahawks Falcons. I'm gonna watch Jets Bills. I'm gonna take off this Loshak look on the Bears Lions over. Packers Vikings going to be a watch, but I am going to pull the trigger on Dolphins +7.
I like it. I'm not doing it myself, but I still like it.
I'm taking off the Eagles spot. I completely understand why you're on the Raiders here, but I've always felt like I haven't always felt since Chucky's come back in the last couple of years. I've just felt he was underprepared, and with
I agree wholeheartedly. Year 1, I thought he significantly improved. Year 2, and I expect him to be better this year. I also like that they brought in Mayock because I think Chucky needs help. He's 10 years removed from the game. He was up in the booth, and it's not like he wasn't watching football, but the game's changed a lot in 10 years, and regardless of how much you're watching it, being down on the field playing, making calls is different. But I really do think the Raiders will be much improved this year. And I just think I really see the Panthers struggling.
Oh, I hear you. And I completely understand. I'm going to wait and see it. I doubled up on the Ravens. So there we go. 1 o'clock games, just Dolphins +7 and the double up Ravens first half full game. All right. Let's move on to the 4 o'clock. 4:05 Chargers, Bengals. Thank you guys so much for joining the Sunday Kickoff Show. And we will be here every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We move on to the 4 o'clock game. Chargers, Bengals. Chargers open up at 3 at bet 365. They're still there. The -3 is at +100. Burrow is the only rookie starting an NFL game this week. Burrow, man, this is tough. No preseason, no exhibition games, and he's throwing right into it. Bosa, Ingram, and Linval Joseph plan to be all over. So Burrow gets A.J. Green back. We know that this wide receiver core is strong with John Ross, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Auden Tate. Jonah Williams missed his whole rookie season with a shoulder injury, so he's going to get a little bit of protection at left tackle. We're expected to get some protection from him. Geno Atkins up front. William Jackson at cornerback. The Cincinnati Bengals. Hard to believe in them because of a vividness bias. And it's Tyrod Taylor time in L.A. Anthony Lynn and the Chargers coming off 5-11 season. There's no Mike Williams, but Keenan Allen, fresh off signing the extension. Eckler, Hunter Henry. And then we have the massive injury to Derwin James, which is just going to add to the pressure on the cornerbacks. But Chris Harris making his debut. He's very strong. Casey Hayward Jr., very strong. But there's going to be a lot of pressure on him without a top-level safety. Chargers, Bengals. Bebsy, take it away.
I'm on this game. I think this is an easy take. The Chargers at -3. Why is this spread still so close? Why are we giving Burrow so much love? He hasn't played a snap in the NFL. Like you mentioned, no preseason games. He is not used to this game speed. And look, Burrow, as great as he played last year, he was on a stacked LSU football team. We already saw what Clyde Edwards-Helaire can do in the NFL. He was a stud at LSU. They had a fantastic O-line, and then they had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Like, the guy had incredible players around him. I'm not knocking Burrow. I think he's going to be good. But to suggest that he can play against this Chargers team right out the gates and keep it tight, I don't see it. Bosa and Ingram are going to eat him up. Linval Joseph is a truck. He's like this. And also, yeah, look, the injury sucks. I love this guy so much. I loved him coming out of Florida. He's such a good player, can't stay healthy. And he's a huge difference maker, but they still have a ton of talent on that defense. They're going to eat up Cincinnati today. Tyrod Taylor, I think personally, is better than Phillip Rivers at this stage in the career. They got an upgrade. So this Chargers team, they often limp out of the gates. I don't see that. I see this as a very easy win. And the Bengals were awful last year. Are we just going to pretend that they're better all of a sudden because of a rookie quarterback who hasn't played a snap in the NFL? It's going to be a long season of growing pains for Burrow. I like the kid. I hope he does well, but not today. I think they get smashed by the Chargers.
And BetMGM giving you a -2.5, but it's up to you. The -3 right now at BetAmerica is +106. Same with resortscasino.com +106. Would you rather have Chargers -3 at +106 or Chargers -2.5 at -110?
Man, dealer's choice. 2.5 is I'd probably go 2.5 just because, it's a little bit easier to make that pick. It's a little safer, but I honestly think this is going to be a 10-plus point game. Like, I think Cincy's going to get smashed this week.
Well, that's enough for me. I'm sold on these Chargers. That makes sense to me. C-Mac, our Connor Mac, also on the Chargers here. C-Mac popped up his card. It looks really nice. Johnny K says, take that plus money then. And that seems to make a ton of sense here. TJ saying there's been talk in San Francisco Bay of canceling the game if the air quality is forecast to be unhealthy for the majority of the game due to the fires. Coy Moore also on the Chargers. Andrew G says Chargers D will stop Burrow. They are good. Shane Schwader saying Chargers have a top 10 D. And that is even without Derwin James. God, it sucks.
Yeah, I really wanted to see this defense with Derwin James. I really feel so bad for that kid. He's so talented and just can't stay on that field.
Yeah. Jenny Toole says, do we have a taint play today? We do not at this point. We have no taint at this point. Chargers on the third official play on Bebsy's card. We will be tracking Bebsy's action all year long and my action as well. And while we can't promise you wins, we can promise you honesty, which is something that we all these guys in the chat care very much about. So there we go. Okay.
I mean, I might double up on this game, to be honest with you. I think I like the under here.
Right.
Yeah, I just can't see Cincinnati putting up any points against this defense. It's at 41, which is low, but, man, Cincinnati's not going to score points today. I love A.J. Green. He was one of my favorite receivers for a long time, but he hasn't played in forever. So I really don't know how much they're going to move the ball. It's going to be a lot of handing it off to Mixon, but this is such a stout defense for the Chargers. I still like this under. I think the Chargers aren't going to have to put up that many points to win this game. But, yeah, I'm doubling up on this, Jimmy. I like the under, and I like the Chargers.
Under and Chargers. We are dealing with some freeze frame here I'm going to pull you out quickly. We heard everything clearly, but dealing with some freeze frame. Just going to pull you out quickly and see if I we have a frozen Bebsy right now. Hey, frozen Bebsy. Let's see if I can. Okay, we have Bebsy. If you could fool around, get your internet back rolling again for us. All right, but he did tell us that he was on the under in this spot, so why not line shop for him here on the odds.com odds page? And for an under, let's see what we can give him. Chargers, Bengals, 41.5. And there is some 41s on the board, but a 41.5. The best 41.5 we can give him is at minus 109 at Bet America. So a double up for Bebsy. And here we go. And under 41.5 at minus 109. And I will be using the spreadsheet to lock everything down with Bebsy. All right, see if we got him back. We do not have him back, so I will just wait. Birdie saying, Bebsy, I agree about what you said, but why is that number only 3? I stayed off because I could not figure out if this was a trap line or are the Chargers really only 3 points better? Al Cervic giving us a final score of 28-9. Anthony Dahlia says, Chargers must win today. They host Thursday Night Football with the Chiefs next week, and we know how that's going to turn out for the Bolts. Very good point, Anthony Dahlia. Very, very, very good point. Real talk, how many bet places do you use? For me, you know the system that I have going. I have a local that uses all of the lines for Bet365. 25% in and out every Friday, which allows me to bet over my tax bracket, take risks, and just probably bet more than I should. So that's, you guys know that's my situation, Shane. So I use Bet365 lines, and that's why I often take worse lines than others, which is tough. All right, Money Right Fight Club in the house, joining us. Gabe in the house. Gabe's on Raiders -3 plus 105. Falcons minus 1 to minus 105. Lions -2.5. And Colts -7 minus 105 for Money Right Fight Club. Back in the Lions, which we haven't seen. And Almac says you and me both, Jimmy. Yeah, Almac and I both have the same situation here, and I like it. I've got no problem with it, but we don't always get the best line. And we don't get some of the benefits that come with Bet365, but whatever. That's for another discussion. All right, let's move on. We're going to get Bebsy back, but Bebsy's now made the under 41.5 official and the Chargers -2.5 official, a double up here. I'm going to make a move on the Chargers. Again, this isn't one of the 1 o'clock slates. This game pops off at 4:05. There's JL in the house. Let's see what Triple Beam Dream is doing on this card. Triple Beam Dream is on New England -7, Bills -6.5, Tampa Bay -3.5. Or plus 3.5, and the Ravens -7. All right, we got Bebsy back in action. Let's pop him up here. Bebsy, great stuff. So we doubled you up there on the Chargers on -2.5 and the under 41.5. Let's move on to Buccaneers Saints. Buccaneers Saints. This total is at 47.5. Fox Bet has this heavily juiced to. Fox Bet has this heavily juiced to the under. And then let's go over to the spread here. And this is a game everybody is excited about watching. This is the first time we've had 2 quarterbacks over 40 facing off against each other. And the best line here, well, it's 3.5 across the board, and it's pretty much -110 everywhere you look. Okay, so first game that ever involved 2 quarterbacks in their 40s, Brady, Breeze. So Breeze set an NFL record with 74.4% completion rate in 2018. Almost got there in 2019. Threw his career low 4 interceptions. But man, his arm strength did not look good. He did not look good. Wasn't getting that deep ball. And there was a lot of situations where you could say he was not even the number 1 quarterback on the Buccaneers. There was even situations where you could say he was the 3rd best quarterback on the Saints squad. Saints had Emmanuel Sanders, to this great group that has Michael Thomas. He caught an NFL single-season record 149 passes last year. They got Jared Cook. Alvin Kamara just extended, so he feels good about himself. And then on defense, they add Malcolm Jenkins. They have Sheldon Rakins coming back from that injury. And that is a beautiful front seven with Cameron Jordan. You got Demario Davis. And then we have the Bucs, who got McCoy and Fournette backing up. We'll see how that works out. They were 30th against the pass in 2019. Evans will be in the lineup. Gronkowski will be in the lineup. And this run defense was so strong last year with Shaquille Barrett, Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh. And now we get to see what Brady does with this Buccaneers squad. Bebsy, take it away. Buccaneer Saints.
Look, ton of question marks here. Again, first of all, the Saints, look, that team is loaded. My biggest question mark is Breeze's arm strength. He struggled last year. He struggled a bit the year before, but he just doesn't have the same zip on that ball. Look, he's old. They're getting old. So he's my biggest question mark. I wonder what he's going to look like. If he can play anything like Breeze of a few years ago, then this team's going to be unstoppable. But he's just not. They added Sanders, which I thought was such a good pickup for them. They have so many weapons, so much talent, but it all boils down to Breeze. I think, in theory, they should stomp the Bucs, but they always start so slow. The Saints, every single year, it's like, as good a coach as Sean Payton is, they limp into the season. It makes no sense. And then they, find their footing and dominate. But that's my biggest question mark about them. On the other side of the ball, I don't know what Tom Brady is going to do this year. He's 43. His arm is failing. The receiving core in New England got a lot of flack last year, but Tom wasn't helping. Tom underthrew a lot of balls. And now he's with Bruce Arians, who we've seen it his whole career as a coach. Bruce Arians loves to air the ball out. So is he going to be able to do that? Is Tom Brady going to be able to hit Godwin deep? Is he going to be able to hit Mike Evans deep? Can Mike Evans run deep with this hamstring injury? Gronkowski to me is a non-factor. I watched some of the clips of him in camp. He does not look like he can run anymore. He was always a clumsy runner, but now he looks like a guy with horrible knees trying to drag around a giant body. He's a non-factor to me. O.J. Howard should be the tight end one. Also, Tom Brady is not going to have the time he had in New England. This is a different system, a worse O-line. I can see them struggling out the gates. I think the strength, again, throughout Tom Brady's whole career has been the defense, and the Bucs have a sneaky good defense. I think that's going to keep them in a lot of games. I don't know what to think of Tom in this new system. I don't know what I think of Breeze. I can't wait to watch this game because there's so many questions I need to answer. But one thing look, Gronk might be a red zone guy. That's it. Dude cannot run anymore. He's broken. I don't know why he came back.
I like it. Ken Mizrahi on the Tampa team total over. I say I'd like it. I'm also going to stay far away from putting money on this game. I want to watch badly.
Yeah,
badly.
This is a game I'm glued to, but I too many question marks, man. I'm staying off it.
Vincent Gigante has Emmanuel Sanders over 3.5 receptions at plus 116. What do you think of that prop?
I love that pick. Emmanuel Sanders for his entire career has been so underrated. He was underrated in Pittsburgh. He was underrated in Denver. Nobody thought he was going to change San Francisco's offense like he did last year, but the guy is so good. He's so savvy. He always finds a soft spot, and he's going to help an aging Breeze. Sanders is a sneaky good pick. 3.5, easy, take it.
Jay Peach's play of the day is on Carolina plus 3. That was my initial look in that game, Jay, and I got talked off of it. Benson Hopp on our Periscope says, is 48 total too high? And we know that it's gone down to 47.5 from that 48. What do you think of this total? Dennis Garcia said this might be a sneaky under.
Yeah, I think it's a sneaky under 2. Again, I'm staying off it because we know the potency of both of these offenses on paper. But again, I need to see it. I need to see. I'm going to look very closely at both how Brady throws today and how Breeze throws today. But sneaky under, that would be my play if I was forced to make a play. I'm not, so I won't. But yeah, I would lean towards the under on this.
Lean towards the under. And then Stephen Glass, I mean, you just said how you feel about Gronk overall. Gronk in at one game, possibly. Stephen Glass wondering about the Gronk to score at 5-1.
Man, if you watch the clips from camp, Gronk looks terrible. He doesn't even look like an athlete. He just looks so it looks like it hurts him to run right now. So, and yeah, he's always had a weird style of run. We all remember that clip of him being put in on that punt for some stupid reason, and he looked terrible. But he looks worse than that in camp running right now. If you can remember how he looks like a fat golfer right now. He looks like Phil Mickelson. That's what he looks like. And Phil Mickelson would be terrible on the football field. I can't put anything in Gronk right now, but it's also, how do you bet against him? The guy's been an absolute machine, and he's such a donkey. He can just roll into the end zone, and Tom can lob it up, and he can pull it down. That I'm sure he can do, and I think he might end up just being a red zone threat for them, and then they'll run everything else through O.J. Howard. But yeah, I don't know. I'd stay off that, but you know that Brady's going to be looking for him if they get down in the red zone, so.
Well, we are staying off this spot, but this is definitely the game of the week. All right, let's move on to Cardinals, Niners. Here we go, Cardinals, Niners, and this is the last late afternoon game, and then we have the night game, Rams, Cowboys. See what we're dealing with Cards, Niners. This total shot up, opened at 45.5, all the way up to 48.5. The Niners opened at -8. And bet down to 7, and now at 6.5. This Cardinals team is going to build on a good year last year with Cliff Kingsbury. Good year. They improved their scoring by 8.5 points per game, and now they've added DeAndre Hopkins, also Isaiah Simmons, Larry Fitzgerald still hanging on. They had Simmons with that 8 overall pick. And he's going to be very good. They also signed Devondre Campbell, Devin Kennard, and defensive lineman Jordan Phillips. Then they pick up Kenyon Drake. This 49ers defense, this team you know so well, Bebsy, second in total yards, this defense. They were third in average sacks a game. And now they bring in Trent Williams to replace Joe Staley. They do a nice job at the draft. Cardinals, Niners, Bebsy, you making a move?
I'm not making a move. Again, the spread's too big, and week one, I want to stay off it, but I'll say this. This is why I think the Cardinals could cover. First of all, they always play the Niners tight. Last year, when the Cardinals were a bad football team and the Niners were one of the best, they still came down to the wire in both of those games. Now, if you watch those games, you know that the Niners weren't playing with a full deck. They had a lot of injuries for both of those games, but they've got injuries coming into week one as well. Jalen Hurd's out for the season, which sucks because a lot of people were excited about what he could do in this offense. Deebo Samuel just got put on short-term IR. So it's going to be a bit of a mishmash on that Niners offense. They still got tons of weapons. They still got Kittle first and foremost. They've got Jordan Reed, who apparently has looked healthy and phenomenal in camp. Brandon Ayuk has looked great in camp. And they have Jimmy Garoppolo's favorite little weapon in Trent Taylor. So the addition of Trent Williams on that line, it's going to be a Niners win, but the Cardinals will play them tight. My beef with the Cardinals is this. You got DeAndre Hopkins in maybe the dumbest trade in the history of sports. And he's going to help, but you already had Fitzy, who he's getting old, but Christian Kirk, and Andy Isabella. You keep putting all these receivers in, and you still haven't done enough in the trenches. On the defensive side, they got Chandler Jones, and nobody else really scares me. On the offensive side, they picked up Jones in the 3rd round, who was projected initially a potential top 10 pick. But when a guy slides like that, you got to wonder, especially at a position like left tackle. So they still have too many holes on the offensive line. They've got great weapons, and they're going to be a talented football team. But Cliff Kingsbury has had one winning season in his entire coaching career, and that was like 8-7 in his first year in college. I don't know why this guy's getting so much praise as a coach. He hasn't won anything. He hasn't done anything. I really like Kyler Murray. I think that guy's going to be an absolute phenom, and he's going to give teams fits for years to come. But I'm staying off this game. If I had to pick, I would take the Cardinals to cover. This Niners team is still incredibly talented. I don't believe the Super Bowl hangover thing is always such bullshit, because those teams that have a hangover, quote, they're just teams that got picked over. They lose half their guys. It's not like, oh, these guys are sad and they can't play football anymore. They get picked over because they're one of the best teams in football, so other guys poach their players. San Francisco lost Emmanuel Sanders. Sure, that hurts, but they hopefully replaced him with Ayuk, and they got Trent Taylor back. They lost DeForest Buckner. He's going to be the hardest replaced. They drafted Javon Kinlaw, but he hasn't apparently had a great camp, so that's going to be a replacement by committee. And then the offensive line, you lose a guy like Joe Staley, and that's devastating unless you replace him with arguably the best left tackle in football in Trent Taylor. So Shanahan's got these guys rolling. They're going to play great football and win, but Zona is going to play them tough.
I like it. Are you going to stay off Cards Niners?
Staying off Cards and Niners. I just week 1, I don't like it enough to jump on this. I think the spread's a bit too high to take the Niners, but at the same time, like, we've seen this Shanahan offense roll sometimes, and if they Colts say thank you for Buckner, yeah, absolutely, that guy is just a stud. But look, the Niners also have Jerick McKinnon back, and it's been 3 years. They picked this guy up. He's supposed to be this secret weapon in Shanahan's offense. He hasn't played a snap yet. So he's back, apparently looks phenomenal in camp. This running game is so hard to stop. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Do you agree with the market move towards the over, 45 to up to 48?
I don't know. They had such low-scoring games last year. It's week 1. I don't like many overs at all. So I don't know. I'm staying off it. I'm staying off it. I don't like it. We could see both of those teams go off, but San Francisco's D is still phenomenal. They're saying in camp, anyways, the rumors are that this team is looking better than last year defensively, which, when you lose a guy like Buckner and somehow get better, that's nuts.
Oh, I feel you. All right, we're going to do a review. We also have one last game. We have the 8:20 game. We're 17 minutes before kickoff. I will need to get a bet in before the 1 o'clock, so we'll need to finish a little bit before then. Let's talk about, because I only have one edition on the 1 o'clock games. We'll review everything there. 8:20 Cowboys, Rams, and then we'll briefly talk about the 2 Monday nighters. Cowboys opened up at -2.5. They're now at -2. Rams total at 50 now, 51, 51.5, or 52, depending on where you shop. We get to see the new stadium. McCarthy makes his debut for the Cowboys. We know this offense led by Prescott and Zeke, but now you've got Cooper, Gallup, and CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver. Is it a dangerous offense? DeMarcus Lawrence coming off a down season. They bring on Alden Smith. I'm not sure. A couple guys are taking chances on. Also, Everson Griffin. Rams missed the playoffs. Their roster, a second straight year of taking losses. Gurley, Cooks, Fowler, Littleton. So they're going to be using 3 different running backs. And none of us were high on Gurley, the Gurley of 2019 or even second half of 2018. but that was injury issues. But they have Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers, and Darrell Henderson. Goff still has Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, and Higbee, so it's not like he doesn't have anyone. They just made Ramsey rich, $105 million extension. Aaron Donald is a monster. Late game, Cowboys, Rams, Bebsy, you got to move?
Again, these are two teams I do not know what to expect. I look at the Cowboys on paper, and it's a great team, but they made such a lateral move with the coaching decisions. They fired Garrett, who they blamed for mediocrity, which was justified, but he was such a vanilla coach, and you replaced him with a vanilla coach. That's why McCarthy got fired from the Packers. It was such a dumb hire. I didn't like it. My biggest question mark with the Cowboys is their secondary. Obviously, they've got fantastic linebackers. They look like they could have a defensive front that could be nasty, especially if Aldon Smith can be anything like he used to be. I'm really curious to see what that guy's going to play like. But I can't overstate the magnitude of the loss of Jason Frederick. They are not the same offensive line without that guy. I don't know. Look, on paper, phenomenal. CeeDee Lamb, with the pickup there to add to Cooper and Gallup. Like, they look nuts, but Dak does not shine in big games. Dak does not shine against winning teams. I have no faith in the Cowboys whatsoever, especially if it's a hard game. And then on the other side of the ball, like, this team started to look better towards the end of the year last year. They actually would have been a scary team to face in the playoffs because they were surging quite a bit. Ramsey got paid, but Clay Matthews is gone. Corey Littleton, which I mentioned earlier, is gone. That is going to be a big loss for them. Yeah, they still got Donald. They still got Ramsey. They're still studs on this team. But I just don't know if they have enough. They have too many holes, and these superstars can't fill everywhere. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I like Cam Akers. I think that guy is going to be very good. And I also like Higbee. So if you're looking at individual player props over the season, I'm looking at Higbee and Akers, taking their overs. I think both of those guys are going to – Higbee looking at possibly a breakout year. And I think Akers is maybe the most overlooked rookie running back in football this year. But again, staying off this game, do not like it. Do not know what to expect. Both average football teams, in my opinion, and that's not going to be popular. I know people love the Cowboys, but why? They've won one playoff game in forever. I just don't care about them. They're so mediocre.
And this total shooting up. A lot of sharp cappers here in our chat on the over. Is this a stay away game, or do you want to make a move on the total?
Again, I'm staying away from it. We'll see how the Cowboys play in McCarthy's system, which I don't know if is that much different than Garrett's system, but that's my apprehension of staying away there. But the Rams could put up some points. Yeah, this one's going over 51. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. It could. Yeah, of course. I don't blame Jerry for not wanting to pay Dak top money either. Dak does not win big games. His record against winning teams with a winning record is abysmal. I can't remember what it is, but it's like 5-40 or something that ridiculous. So I don't know. I'm staying off this game. Same Al-Max says same system, just less clapping. That's beautiful. I'm staying away from this game entirely. And I don't know if, I like all these sharp cappers going with the over here, but I personally am just afraid of this game. I have no idea what to expect from either team. I do. I expect mediocrity from both of these teams, slightly above mediocrity.
We have 11 minutes till kickoff. Drinks got to be poured. Food's got to be put out. And for me, I got to place a couple bets here. Just one for the 1 o'clock games. But let's quickly touch on Monday night. Let's quickly touch on Steelers-Giants. Steelers go from 4 to 6-point favorites. This total goes from 48 to 46. Any look here for Pittsburgh-Giants?
This opened at 3, the spread. And that was the time to get on that. I still think at -6, it's playable. I'm not going to. I love the under at 46. Reason being, the Steelers are absolutely phenomenal on defense, and they're just going to shut this down. Like, this is – Danny Dimes could not protect the ball last year. He didn't handle pressure very well. The Steelers are going to be coming at him with pressure, and that's why I love this under, because Big Ben is back. He looks less fat. It's incredible. Pictures from camp looks like Big Ben lost some weight. But he's coming off an elbow surgery late in his career. I don't know how great he's going to be. It's going to be a slow start for him, but I really like the Steelers this year in general. I think they're going to smash some teams heavily because of that defense, but I don't see a ton of points being scored in this. I think the under is an easy play at 46 here. And I'm not going to play the -6, but I would lean towards Steelers still covering.
We can give you a 46.5 for this spot here. 46.5. That's available at Bet Rivers, but that will cost you 7 cents. 7 cents maybe you don't want to pay for. Would you rather have 46 at -110 or 46.5 at -117?
I would say I'd still take the 46. I don't think that half point's a big deal. It can be. That could be a crushing half point, but I just don't see a ton of scoring in this game. I can't see the Steelers defense giving up any points to Danny Dimes. And I don't hate Danny Dimes. A lot of people think I do. I think that guy maybe took a lot of flack because of where he was drafted, but he throws a nice ball. He's athletic. I love Saquon Barkley. He's one of my favorite players in the league. I think he goes off this year. I just don't see either of them going off against this Pittsburgh defense, especially week one. Again, I'm so high on defenses week one. I'm so high on unders week one, and especially a defense of the caliber of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're, in my opinion, top 3 defense in the NFL.
We have to do a review as well here. So let's quickly touch on the Monday nighter, Titans Broncos. This total between 40.5 and 41.5, depending on where you shop. And this spread here at odds.com, odds page for the licensed American books is at 3, with the Titans being favored. Very quickly, we got to make moves, Bebsy. Titans Broncos, any look?
Titans Broncos. Well, the play was earlier when the Titans were actually the underdog. I couldn't figure out. Well, the Denver Broncos this year are that team that got overhyped. Everyone is like, oh, the Broncos, they're on the Broncos. Why? Drew Lock isn't phenomenal. We know that. He looks better than expected, but now they're out Cortland Sutton for an undetermined amount of time. The Von Miller injury is just a crushing blow. I really wanted to see Chubb and Miller play last year, and Chubb got hurt. This year, Miller got hurt, so we're still not seeing it. But, man, the Titans, for a playoff team that didn't really lose much, they're getting disrespected. But now that they're the favorites, and that I think that total or that spread has been moving up, that kind of scared me off it. But originally, I loved the Titans as the underdog. But let's pump the brakes on the Denver hype.
All righty. You've made Steelers under 46 official. Are you going to make anything in the Titans-Broncos game official?
Staying off it again. It's week one. I like to play it tight week one.
All right. Let's do a quick overview, and then let's get to kickoff. Quick overview for official plays from Rob Bebenek, -6.5 on the Bills. -6.5 and -109 on the Bills. Then he is on the Raiders, -3 at +100. It's an official pick. He's doubling up on the Chargers game. Chargers -2.5 and -110, and the under 41.5 at -109. And then finally, he is on the Steelers under 46 at -110. Official plays for me is I doubled up on the Ravens. I bet that and put that out already. For additions for me, I am going to be taking the Dolphins +7. at the Patriots. I'm excited. We'll see how that game bangs out. And then the other spot is the Chargers -3 is what I'll be getting. I'm going to make a move on the Chargers -3. And I'm very interested in the under in the Chargers game and the under in that Steelers game. I'm going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to take a little more time to cap it. Take a little bit more time. Dutch Boy Fresh says easy to say now with no Vonnie and no Sutton is huge. Joey Yurkovich, our man Joey Yurkovich, Bears team total over 20 and Cardinals team total over 20.5. Jason Falk says, Bebsy, I love your work, man. First time listening to you, but I'll be back. Thanks, guys. Good luck. Before I give a shout out to all the great cappers we have in the chat, Bebsy, any last words for these great guys?
Man, I'm just pumped football's back. It's week 1. I'm excited. Let's have a little fun. Pour the drinks, fire up the cues. Let's enjoy what we can in this really shitty world. It's good to be back, guys. It's good to have football back.
This really shitty world.
Am I wrong? It's a mess out there.
This real shitty world. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Intex, Mr. Wisdom, Nilo, Stu Boo, Andrew G, Razor Sharp, Ken Mizrahi, Viper, Chris Brady, Jason Lowry, Jason Falk, Jay Peach, Dutch Boy Fresh, Joey Yurkovich, Anthony Tomlinson, Birdie, Mr. Goather, Intex, Tim Montana, Kevin Garrett, Dennis Garcia, my man Jay Peach. Jay Peach. Jay Peach would use the term open ass for teams he did not believe in NFL. He once called our 49ers open ass, but he had to stop calling them that because we closed that hole. Bebsy, much love. Love this. You can catch Bebsy and I here every Sunday at 11 a.m. I just have minutes to make this 1 o'clock, but I got to go lock it in. I love you guys. Let's get the week started off with winners. I need a bounce back day from yesterday. We were up 8.5 units on the week. I gave back 8 units yesterday. Unfucking-believable, man. Just heartbreak. Bebsy, great stuff today. Can't wait to work with you guys tomorrow. Check us out, odds.com. Follow us on Twitter, odds -110. And subscribe to our Odds HQ YouTube page and get cashing. Leche, fellas. Let's get paid in full. Great job, Bebsy. I'll catch you.
Much love, Jimmy.